I've read my fair share of really good books this year, but honestly, there is no better feeling than picking up a book and absolutely devouring it, knowing that it's your next 5-star read. And so the objective of this video is to find that one book that's going to fill your soul with so much happiness. How it's going to work? I'm going to continue reading and reading and reading until I find that book that you just have this really strong emotional connect with, the book that will stay with you for days after reading, that book that you just can't stop thinking about, the book with characters who you want to protect with your life. That's the book that I'm looking for, and that's the book that when I find, this video will finally end. So I think it's going to be interesting. Let's see what happens.
I wanted to start this video off with the book that's been on my TBR for so long, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Heart Castle by Stuart Turton. A man is invited to a party where a murder takes place. He has 7 days to solve this murder, and every day he wakes up in the body of a new guest at this party. I mean, this premise itself had me sold. I had to read it. I am currently on page 420. I have like only this much left of the book. Now, this book is a thriller. So far it's been kind of like a 4.25 out of 5 stars read for me. But I have like the end left, like the last 80 pages or so. And I think for thrillers, it's the end of the book that decides whether it's going to be like a 3-star, 4-star or a 5 out of 5 star read. So let's see. Maybe I'll get a 5-star read in the very first book that I've chosen. But yeah, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna read the last bit of this book, and let's see if I get my 5-star read. This book is honestly really confusing at times, but okay. Well, that was a bit of a downer. There is nothing more disappointing than getting to like the end, the reveal of a thriller, and it just being a bit unsatisfactory. Honestly, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Heart Castle, I didn't think it was going to be my 5 out of 5 star read. I think it was a solid 4.25, but the ending made it come down to like a 3.5 or maybe like a 3.75. Yeah, and I'm disappointed by that because I was enjoying this book so much. There are so many twists and turns in this book. There are so many characters to keep up with, and so it gets quite confusing, but still it keeps you like at the edge of your seat because it is so action-packed and so much is happening. And yeah, the mystery is really good. Like everyone in this house, like this, because this is like an Agatha Christie style, like locked room murder mystery kind of thing. So like everyone who is present in the house has like secrets to hide, and you're uncovering all of them, and it is so cleverly done because there are like time jumps and just like, yeah, the whole premise is so interesting. But the ending, I wish it was a bit more satisfactory. I still couldn't guess it. Like, it's not like it was predictable or anything. It still did sort of blow my mind, but there was just the reason behind it was a bit meh, and that's disappointing. But yeah, I still recommend The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Heart Castle. I think you guys will have a fun time reading it, but it's not my 5-star read, so let's move on. After a slightly disappointing start, I decided to move on to my favorite genre in the whole entire world, fantasy. I picked up The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow because honestly, this just seemed spooky and witchcrafty and completely up my alley. Set 200 years after the Salem witch burnings, this book takes place in an era where witchcraft and magic are on the rise again, and women are fighting to win back the power that they once lost. Hi guys, okay, so it's been a few weeks since the last clip that you guys saw, and that was because I went into a bit of a reading slump again. And one of the main reasons was because of that book, The Once and Future Witches. And so, since that last clip, basically I DNF'd that book, and it was a library book actually, so I returned it back to the library. And yeah, I've been in a bit of a reading slump. So that was definitely not my 5-star read. It was a good book, it was very atmospheric, it was well written, but it was just not like fast-paced enough for me to really get into it. It was quite slow, and to be honest, the characters were really annoying in that book, and so I just didn't feel like reading it, and it put me in a slump again. And so, to get out of this reading slump, I decided to move to one of my most trusted authors, Agatha Christie. And the book that I picked up was The Murder of Roger Ackroy. Now, so many people who have read this book have told me that the end is just impossible to guess. Like, the end is supposed to blow your mind. And so I was really excited to read this, and I went in with pretty high expectations. Alright, so it is the next day. I am like 90 pages into The Murder of Roger Ackroy, and it's finally getting really interesting. So this is another Hercule Poirot murder mystery. It's very typical Agatha Christie style, which is a locked room murder mystery. So the room is locked from the inside, and Roger Ackroyd is found dead. He is found stabbed. And honestly, like every other Agatha Christie book, there are secrets, there are multiple suspects, and what I've heard about this one is, like I said, it's very difficult to guess who the murderer is. And I've reached that stage in the book now where Hercule Poirot has gotten involved in the investigation. So it's just like heating up, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. Let's see, I will continue reading and share my thoughts once I'm done. Okay, so it is much later in the day, and I have finished reading The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, and I give this 4.25 out of 5 stars. Now, don't get me wrong, this was a great book. Honestly, the ending surprised me. Like a lot of people had said, I could not guess who the murderer was. It comes together beautifully at the end, and Agatha Christie has woven a really wonderful murder mystery. But here's the thing. So I think if this was one of the first few Agatha Christie books that I had ever read, I would have given this 5 out of 5 stars, because like the ending, you can't guess it. But now that I've read like more Agatha Christie books, the thing about them is that I feel like there are certain similarities in the way she writes her mysteries. There's always like a forbidden romance. It's always a locked room murder mystery. And of course, there is a huge plot twist at the end. And so, because of these like common running themes in her books, the ending, while surprising, it didn't like completely blow my mind. And so that's why this is a 4.25 out of 5 stars and not a 5 out of 5 stars for me. But nevertheless, an amazing book, and I highly recommend it if you love mysteries. But yeah, unfortunately, not the 5-star read that will end this video. So, reading spooky and mysterious books just seemed to be my mood during this particular video, and so the next book that I chose was an outright gothic horror book, which was The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. This book follows our main character as she gets married and then moves into a house that is clearly haunted, and creepy, spooky things start happening to her. I'm usually not a huge fan of horror, but I kinda started enjoying this book. Hi guys. Okay, so it is the next day and I have been devouring this book. Honestly, it is such a fast-paced read. It is super creepy, which I am loving. Like the horror aspects are really, really nice. Like it's creepy, but it's not like really, really scary. So it's like the perfect book for a scaredy cat like me. So yeah, I'm really liking it so far. The only thing about it that is mildly annoying is that there are certain historical aspects which are like mentioned in this book. So this book is set against the backdrop of the Mexican War of Independence. So it's set in Mexico. And the thing about this is that the way this is written, the author kind of expects the reader to know everything about this particular part of history, and I know nothing about it. So I guess it's more of a me problem, but it's just a bit annoying because like to understand certain aspects that the author is talking about, I have to sort of put the book down and then Google certain aspects of the Mexican War of Independence to understand that context. And that's kind of like taking me out of like the fast-paced read that I'm experiencing. So that's a little bit annoying, but overall I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, it's really creepy and I can't wait to dive back in. I honestly feel like I'm going to finish this book tonight because yeah, I can't put it down. So let's see what happens. Okay, you guys, this book is really scary. I started reading after work yesterday in the evening and I read till about like 9:30 or 10 p.m. And then the book got so creepy that there was no way in hell I was gonna read it like late into the night because I would legit get nightmares, I think, if I did that. So I stopped reading and now it's the next day and I'm gonna make myself some coffee. That's my microwave. I'm gonna make myself some coffee, sit down and read before my workday starts because I need to finish this book also. It's creepy and it's scary, but it's nice so far. Hello. Okay, so I have finished reading The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas and I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now, the thing was, this was a pretty fast-paced read. It was creepy, it was scary. It was a pretty well-written gothic horror story. So basically, this book follows our main character, Beatriz, who to escape poverty gets married to a man who she doesn't really love. And he brings her to this hacienda, which is kind of like a Spanish mansion in the countryside of Mexico. Now, when she enters this house, which to her is her sort of escape from poverty and a place where she'll feel safe, this house becomes like her worst nightmare. It is haunted, it is creepy, it like gives her nightmares, it keeps her awake. And what I really liked about this book is how the house itself is kind of like a spectral being or like a character, because the hauntings are described as if the house is alive and the house is sort of feeding on Beatrice. And yeah, the way the house is described like a character of itself is so like poetic and almost like, you know, like this house is like a living, breathing thing that is horrifying. So I really enjoyed that about the book. However, there were other aspects of the story where we kind of go into the backstory of other characters, and there's also kind of like a forbidden romance that's brewing, and also certain historical aspects of the book. Like those kind of left me feeling a little bored, to be honest. Generally, I love diving into like the histories of characters, historical aspects of the time in which the book is set in, but I was so like captivated by the horror and this house and the way that it was described that when we moved away from it, those aspects of the book like kind of were a little bit of a drag. They weren't badly written, they were well written. It's just I found myself feeling a tad bit bored during those aspects. And that is why I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars. Otherwise, I think the book is really, really well written. It was creepy, it was scary. I was afraid to read it during the night. So I think it did its job of scaring me. But yeah, overall, a 4 out of 5 stars read for me. So after all the mystery and spooky books that I had chosen for this video, I wanted something that was light-hearted and fun, and so I chose Bombay Bala by Jane Borges. Now, this book basically highlights quirky stories of the inhabitants of a Christian neighborhood here in Bombay called Kavel. And it basically talks about their relationships, their lives, and just everything that happens to them as they live in this small, cute little neighborhood. This book was gifted to me by my lovely friend Joey from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and she felt that this would help me get over the reading slump that I was experiencing last year. So I was very excited to check this book out. Oh my god, you guys, this book was so cute. Okay, it's pretty late in the night. Wow, I'm a bit delirious. It's pretty late at night. So I will give my thoughts in the morning. But this book was really cute. It's not my 5-star read, it's 4 out of 5 stars. But it was a really fun, engaging, cute read that I will talk about in the morning. So, yes. Good night. Hello. Okay, so it is the next day, and I feel like my mind is now clear enough for me to talk about this book, Bombay Vaal by Jane Borges. Honestly, this was such a cute, sweet, fun, engaging book. I really enjoyed reading it. The way that this book is structured is that each chapter is basically like a short story that talks about the lives of the Coutinho family along with their neighbors. And basically, it highlights the lives of these people as they live in this small little neighborhood in Bombay called Kavel. Now, Kavel is predominantly a Christian neighborhood, so this book is full of like cultural anecdotes about that community, and it is so cleverly and nicely written. Now, the other thing about this book is that these stories about the Coutinho family and these other people living in Kavel spans decades. So there are stories from 1945, there are stories from 1987, and there are also stories from the 2000s. And so, along with the evolution of the Coutinho family, we also get the evolution of Bombay. So the story set in like the 1940s gives us a glimpse into how colonial Bombay was, like how pre-independence Bombay was. Similarly, when we get stories set in the 80s and 70s, we get a little bit of information about the politics of that time, as well as the cultural evolution of Kavel, with like new immigrants coming into Bombay, housing redevelopments that happen. And I thoroughly enjoyed that in this book because I love reading books that are set in my hometown, in my city. And so that part of the book was also really enjoyable. The reason why I haven't given this book 5 out of 5 stars is like I really thought about it at night because I'm like, I really enjoyed this book, so why am I not able to give it the full 5 stars? And I think the reason is because I only give those books 5 stars which elicit this sort of like visceral emotional response in me. Like if I feel extremely attached to the characters of a book, or if a book makes me tremendously happy, or if a book makes me tremendously sad, those are the books that I give 5 out of 5 stars to. This one, on the other hand, was a really fun, engaging book, but it didn't give me that like deep emotional response that 5-star books give me. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. Please go and read it if you want a very fun and engaging read. But it wasn't the 5-star book that will end this video. And so, to have that like emotional response, the next book that I'm choosing I think will give me that. So let me go get it. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I have heard so many things from a bunch of booktubers about this book. They've said it is funny, it is sad, and also extremely emotional and heartbreaking. So let's see what happens. This book is already so difficult to get through, and it has nothing to do with the language. So I'm on page 100 of I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and already this book is so powerful. So basically, this book highlights the toxic relationship that Jeanette McCurdy had with her mother. So if you guys don't know, Jeanette McCurdy was a child actress, and she was part of a very famous Nickelodeon show. So this book is her memoir, and it highlights her journey in becoming a child actress and the extremely toxic role that her mom played in making her this child actress. It's very evident from the way that Jeanette has told her story so far that her mom was a narcissist. Like, there is no way to sugarcoat it. She is just, yeah, she's such a narcissist and so self-obsessed, and clearly she's sort of like living her dreams of becoming an actress through Jeanette. Like I said, it's just been the first 100 pages, and already it's like it's been quite difficult to read. And like I said before, it has nothing to do with the language. In fact, the way this book is written is almost like a story. So it's almost like you're reading a fictional book. It's not written like other memoirs. There are a lot of dialogues in this book, and it feels like you're reading a story. So it's very, very fast paced. Like, I have not been able to put this book down. I've just been sitting in one position reading this book, but the subject matter of it has been quite difficult to absorb and think about. And yeah, I'm going to continue reading it because, like I said, I cannot put this book down. It's just been very impactful and very hard hitting so far. Yes, I shall continue reading. You guys, I think I found my 5-star read. Okay, so I haven't read a lot of memoirs, but I've read quite a few. And of the few that I have read, I think this is the most honest, the most raw, and just like the most cathartic memoir that I have ever read. Jeanette McCurdy has basically bared her soul in this memoir. It is so raw, it is so emotional, it is so vulnerable, and yeah, she's not held anything back. It's just all of her raw emotions, all of her honest feelings and her thoughts and the trauma that she went through. It's all poured out in this book, and it was one of the most impactful and powerful reading experiences I have had this year. This book, yeah, it's brave. I just feel like she is so brave for having been so deeply vulnerable in this book. So, like I mentioned before, this book explores the extremely toxic relationship that Jeanette McCurdy had with her mother, and basically her journey in becoming this child actor within Hollywood, and then how this toxic relationship, the stress of being an actor when she really didn't want to be one, as well as her mother's death, how this extremely adversely affects her mental health, and basically how she copes with it and what she does to come out of it. It's just
yeah, there's no other way for me to describe it except for it being raw and honest and emotional and just extremely, extremely brave. If you're looking for a really gripping memoir that's written almost like a fictional story, I highly, 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 highly recommend checking this out. It's just, yeah, it was amazing. With that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed coming along on this journey with me. I know that I thoroughly did. I think I discovered some amazing books along the way, and overall it was just a really enjoyable experience. I also kind of realized how I rate books. Earlier it was just a very mechanical thing I used to do, but now I was like really introspecting into why I rate a book 5 stars, why I rate it 3 stars, and I think that part of the process was also very interesting to figure out. So yes, overall I think this video was a success. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big fat thumbs up. Comment below letting me know what was the last 5-star book that you have read. And of course, do subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these and you'd want to see more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.